Hey everybody, this has been on my mind and I just wanted to do a quick tip. A lot of people talking about rack toes, and I think rack toes are a very important aspect of shoeing horses and making shoes. So I just have something that's in your toe bend to keep in mind when you're making a toe bend. I make all my shoes and it's something that I really never have overcome, but it's something to be aware of because you want to be able to evaluate your own work. We have a shoe, and let's just say this shoe is our width. What you see is a lot of people will make a toe bend and the toe bend is way too wide and we have too much width here. So we have the toe bend and we leave way apart. So now we have almost the identical shoe and toe bend, except it's way narrower. So then when you put that on there, what we want to make sure that we're doing when we make our toe bend is we want to make sure we cover everything, but we want to make sure that we're almost the exact width of the shoe or the foot that we're building. So if you have 5 1/4, 5 1/2 in mind, you think of where the heel nails are on your toe bend, and that's about what the width of your toe bend should be. That doesn't mean this should be an arrowhead. That doesn't mean that this should be broad. It just means that your toe bend should be complete. These branches should point out to right about where your heel nail is in your mind, and that's something that you need to think about. So then when we make a toe bend where it's too broad, what we do is we make the original bend and we go way wide, but the way farriers are hardwired, we want to cover the frog. So we bring this branch in until we think that we have the frog covered. And then what in essence happens is we overbend it because we've already got too wide of a toe bend. So then we come in and we make the other side. And this is overbent, so this is underbent so that we still have the width for our frog. And that in return racks our toenails, because what it did is it overbent, shoved this like that, we overbent it, this is underbent, and then we have a rack toenail. And that's where rack toenails come from, is a super wide toe bend. So these are just, when people say you got to tighten up your toe bend, we are referring to this toe bend is too wide, it doesn't actually come to the quarter. We go with just a little bit narrow of a toe bend, and then it comes to the quarter. And that's one way you can evaluate, is when you're making a shoe for a foot and you're doing a quarter horse and it's 4 1/4 wide on a hind foot, make your toe bend where you imagine the heel nails to be at 4 1/4. And you're like, okay, so what's the downside? The downside is nothing, because if you make a shoe too tight, you can always use the mechanics of the horn to open it back up. But if you make a shoe too wide, then you're always going to be ping-panging it around on the horn and kinking it in. You can always use the mechanics of the horn to make nice smooth lines if you're too tight. Too open, you have to start using the horn as a fulcrum. And that's all I got to say about that.